What's up, everybody? It's Magic here with RacingNews.com, back for another edition of Dr. Miranda Previews. With me, as always, is my co-host, Dr. Miranda. And you got rained on your parade quite a bit last time. We lost a couple of your favorite horses in the Ogden Phipps. We're back again at Churchill Downs. We're on the turf looking for some good weather. You got to be feeling better about your chances this weekend.
I am. I was so upset the Swiss skydiver scratched. Whatever. She's doing fine, they said now. But, I'm super excited to be back at Churchill this weekend. It's Downs after dark, which I don't know if you know, but it's a pretty big deal here at Churchill Downs. It draws a huge crowd. There's little bitty kids there. There's college kids just wanting to get drunk. There's usually like some type of theme. I think last time it was like country western. So if you look on Twitter, you can see a photo of Ed DeRosa in western gear, which is kind of funny. But I'm super excited because Churchill does a great job at getting these big fields for big nights like this one coming up on Saturday.
Well, and the highlight race is going to be race 9, which is where we're looking at today. That is the Grade 3 $150,000 Old Forester Mint Julep Stakes. It's a Grade 3 race for fillies and mares 4 and up. They're going a mile and a 16th on the turf course, and we were talking just before we went live. Huge favorite here, Juliet Foxtrot, the 2-horse, 6-5, and she's coming off of her first career Grade 1 win. But as you correctly pointed out, she's not a slam dunk here, so take us through the field.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is go through the field like I always do. So we'll start off with the number 1 horse. The Irish horse Minted, you have Brennan Walsh and Ricardo on the rail. This horse is second off the layoff, last ran at Churchill Downs on the Oaks undercard, and did win an optional claimer. She ran 86 Spire. But looking back at her races, both her wins come from a mile on the turf and less than that. And both of her tries at a mile and 16th, she doesn't seem to do as well. Not to mention the last time that Ricardo was on her, she ran a mid-70 Buyer and got 4th place. There's just not a whole lot that I like about this horse. So then we'll go to the number 2 horse. You have your heavy favorite with Juliet Foxtrot. She finally got her first G1 win in April with the Jenny Wiley at Keeneland. She beat out La Signor, and she's finished behind her a few times in her history. Juddmonte Farms wanted to give her a G1 win before they retired her, and they finally got it. So hats off for them for letting her to continue to try to train. I love when they let these older mares continue to train, like Monomoy Girl, because this field right here is a lot of competition. It's not like the 3-year-old boys who they retire right after a big win and go to stud. She's clearly the class of the field, running in all stakes lately. She has the highest Buyers. But there are a few things that I want to point out, though. She hasn't won at Churchill Downs since 2019. Both in the Distaff Turf and the Mint Julep last summer, she ran some of her worst Buyers. I just don't really think that she likes the Churchill turf. But with that said, the field last year, I think, is a little bit stronger than what it is this year. She's going to try to go gate to wire. That's how she wins these races, but she's not going to be alone this year like she was in the paceless Jenny Wiley last couple months out. Then we're going to go to another familiar horse with the number 3, Hindi Woods. She gets Florent Giroux for the first time. Her last win was with Gaffleon, but he is on Juliet Foxtrot this race. Now, this horse seems to do well with mediocre horses, but when she gets put in races like a G1, she got 6th, and then she got 7th in the Regret. Both of those were won by Harvey's Little Goyle, which is an awesome turf horse. But one thing about this horse is that she's very consistent. She's ran back-to-back 86 Buyers, then back-to-back 89 Buyers. And coming off a win at Churchill last time out, I am expecting her to take a step forward, especially since she's only 4 years old. She's a lot younger than some of these horses, and she's been working out great since her last time out. So I think there is some upside to her if you want to play her. Now we're going to go with the number 4 horse, the Brazilian horse Vespa. She had taken about a year off after racing Uruguay, and she was doing great. She then came back to the U.S. and won her first time out racing on American turf, which to me is very impressive because I do not typically pick horses who just come from another country because I typically think they need some time to get used to it. But she took right to it in a 1-in-allowance race, running an 81 Buyer after being off a year. She also rallied to beat a horse that was 7 pounds lighter than her. And 3 of those 6 horses that she raced last time out have won since then. To me, that's just very, very good. I think this horse is still hungry, and she's very enticing to me in this race. Now we have the number 5 Lashara for Mark Casse. I actually previewed this horse on my second ever Dr. Miranda previews for the Lake Placid Stakes. And I picked her as my top pick, and boy, she proved me wrong. So with that said, I don't really like her because of that reason. But if you seriously look at her, she's an okay horse at best, in my opinion. She is by American Pharoah, but looking back at her races, she doesn't really seem to like to win. Her highest Buyer is an 84, and she didn't have a win all spring at Gulfstream Park. And still, I don't think Gulfstream Park was that great this spring. Now we're going to go with the number 6 horse, Dominga, who is the other Cox horse, who is clearly second to Juliet Foxtrot. She reminds me a lot of Hindi Woods, but I think that Hindi Woods is a little bit better. I think this horse could dominate some fields and allowance races, and I think she's just in over her head, and I don't expect a whole lot of her on Saturday. Now we're going to go with the number 7, Flash and Dance, who is on a 3-race winning streak. She won at Kentucky Downs last September, which I always do like that angle. And then she's been winning at Indiana Grand, winning optional claimers, which is not the greatest field, but I respect where her team's coming from. They tried 25 times on the dirt and only got 3 wins. So then they switched her to turf, and she's won 3 in a row. So maybe they've kind of actually figured it out finally. But with that said, I do think she's in a little bit over her head. I mean, they're going from Indiana Grand to trying a G3 with Juliet Foxtrot. Then we're going to go with the number 8 Tune for Grand Motion. She also reminds me of Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Bride. She hasn't won in quite a while. But with that said, she always tends to show up and get top 4. They had her running in a graded stakes. She wasn't winning, so they put her in an optional claiming last time out, and she still didn't win. She likes to close, so it's just going to depend how far back she is and if she can even hit the board. Now we're going to go with the number 9 horse, Crystal Ball. I'm going to start off by saying this horse really intrigues me. She was trained by Bob Baffert, and now she's trained by Rudolph Brizette. She was running mid-90 buyers her last 2 times out. She can clearly go the distance. She ran the Alabama last summer. I don't really think that she liked that distance, but now this is her first time on the turf, which could be great or it could be bad. But like I said, this field is just okay besides the one standout. So I think that she could come out firing. She has a lot of early speed. She's going to link up with Juliet Foxtrot, and I think it's honestly going to be a battle in the stretch. And with good old James Graham, he's a warrior out there. He doesn't let these young jockeys ever have it easy. So then we'll go with the number 10, Sister Hannon, who's another consistent horse running upper 80 buyers. She's been running longer distances her last 3 times out. But if you look before that, she ran a mile and a mile and 16th and won both. Corey Lannery is very familiar with her. I think he's been on her every single time. She likes to stick mid-pack and stalk. I think she's going to let horses like Juliet Foxtrot and Crystal Ball battle it out and just hope for a pace meltdown. And then lastly, rounding out the field, we have the number 11. She's on a warpath. I've always really liked this horse. Chantal Sutherland was winning back-to-back with her last spring and summer. She then went on to Pimlico and lost to Juliet Foxtrot on the Preakness undercard. She took off 7 months and came back to Churchill Downs and ran 4th, but still got an 87 buyer, which I think is a good sign that she's not quite done with racing yet. This is her 2nd race off of the layoff. She's ran this race before with Juliet Foxtrot last summer and finished ahead of her because, like I said, Juliet Foxtrot really doesn't like Churchill Downs, it seems like. Hopefully she can get back to those mid-90 buyers that she was running last summer. So with all of that said, though, Juliet Foxtrot is my top pick. But let me just say something. I don't trust her, especially with how she's done at Churchill. She should win this race on paper, but this is horse racing. Horses have some weird quirks. So I'm going to box all my exotics underneath and hope that an upset can happen and we can catch a price. So with an exacta box, I'm going to put in the number 11. She's on a warpath, and the number 9, Crystal Ball. So that'll be a 2, 9, 11 exacta box. In a trifecta box, we're going to go 2, 4, 9, 11. In a superfecta box, we're just going to shoot for the stars and hope it comes across with a bunch of these long shots. We're going to go 2, 4, 7, 9, 11.
Definitely got a big day, a big night of racing at Churchill Downs, I should say. The Downs After Dark program, I haven't been able to attend, but it always looks like a lot of fun. Dr. Miranda, thanks for going through the field for your fans. Let them know how they can follow you for all of your tips and insight. And in case you do show up at Downs After Dark, maybe how they can see exactly what the racing action looks like.
At Miranda Bungie.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week. Until then, good luck.